I was, knee high. I've had relatives that had outfitting operation, and then actually I got into it my own because I wanted to buy a farm, and I was on a $28,000 a year salary, and I'm like, how do I pay for this?
Right.
And so I bought it and started outfitting, and it kind of blossomed from there. And then, of course, from there, I went to, okay, well, I own a farm now, which it was a small farm. It was like 80 acres total. Well, then I had a house on it and everything. I go, I need a tractor to maintain what I've got here. How am I going to pay for this? So then I started doing...
What were you doing at the time?
I was running the production department and marketing department for a very well-known real estate company.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It did not pay very well, and the hours were horrendous. So, but in order to pay for that, I'm like, okay, how do I do this? So then I got into the land management side of things, which I'd always been doing it on some family farms my whole life. My uncle had a tractor here, and this guy had a tractor and whatever else. And not enough that I was like, all right, I go borrow their stuff to take care of mine. And plus, I've always been independent where like, oh, well, if I need this, I'm not going to borrow it. I better go buy it and figure out how to do it. So I bought a tractor, bought all the implements for it. And it got to the point, I had talked to my boss at that other company. I would get to the office at like 5:30 in the morning, and I would have all my work done by noon or 1. And then I would go food plot all afternoon during the food plot season to help pay for that tractor. And it got to the point, and I remember it clean as day. It's been a hell of a journey, 15, 16 years now. That tractor payment was $718 a month. And I was scared to death on how I was going to make that. And now it's like, oh, $700, let's get 3 of those. It's just unbelievable like how far we've come. And I forget that quite a bit. And it just kind of blossomed from there, really. It went from that tractor to another tractor to a different tractor and this and that. And then the next thing you know, we've got skid steers and excavators. And it's just, really just gotten crazy big. And that's what got me into real estate. These guys were trusting me to take care of their farms and help set them up. And from there, I went into, what do you think about this farm? What do you think about that farm? And they would take me to their farm showings. And what do you think? What can we do here? And I don't know what it was, if I felt secure enough in everything else I was doing and all the other parts or what, but at some point it was just like, you fool, why aren't you getting your license? You can't get paid for this. I can charge them for my hours, but that's nothing in comparison to, being on the buying or the selling side of a farm, obviously. So and to take a few steps back, before I had left that other real estate company, I had taken a real estate class, failed it miserably. And I think that was because I was like 20, 21, whatever, and I was just like, oh, this stuff's easy, I'm used to studying. No, I was not.
Yeah.
I bombed. I absolutely tanked. I couldn't even pass the test in the class to get to the state test. So I remember Riley was born, my oldest. She was a baby. Every night I'd work. We'd put her to bed 7:30, 8 o'clock. She might have been 1 at the time, baby 1, somewhere in there. And I would sit on my iPad in bed from 8 to at least midnight, every night doing the course. And I went from signing up to the course to having my license, it was like 7 or 8 weeks. It was the fastest I'd ever done it.
At what age was this? How many years ago?
6 years ago, I think now. Maybe 5. I can't remember. All the time's kind of got away from me.
Yeah.
So I'm literally just kind of getting started. And you've been in 15, 16 years now?
15 years. 2009.
And how did you get started?
Let's see. I was right out of college. I had graduated with a business administration degree. It's hard to find a job. I was working part-time, wanted something different, needed insurance. I think I was getting ready to be done with my dad's insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Had to find a full-time job. And it was on Craigslist. There was a ad for working for McKelvey Properties.
Okay, yep.
And I got hired with benefits. I think I was making $30,000 a year at the time. And one of the requirements was to get my real estate license. And I had always had an interest in it. Went ahead and did that. The next thing I know, I'm doing commercial leasing. But it was a little monotonous for me. I needed something a little faster. Something a little bit, that was in St. Charles. I wanted something a little closer to home. So I have a cousin that reached out to me and said, hey, there's this agent looking for an assistant. Went and talked to him, started working for him in Godfrey. And it's, I think along the way, right around that time, I bought a house. So first mortgage, had a car payment. And at some point, probably 6 or 7 months in, I thought to myself, I can do this. I called up my dad and I said, I quit my job today. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to sell real estate. But I had already...
You've been in it.
I had been around it. I had my license. I just wasn't doing it on my own.
Right.
So he said, how much does that make a year? I said, I don't know. I'll tell you at the end of the year. And so that made me hungry. I knew that I had to pay a mortgage. My dad's name was on that mortgage. I knew that I could not let him down.
Yep.
And it took off. I would say the first 5 years in, they were the hardest.
Yep.
You know? That was trying to build my business, trying to see what worked, what didn't work. Trying to read my clientele. You know, I would say that I always felt like I was barely breaking even every month.
I felt that way the past 4 or 5 years myself. I'm like, how am I doing this? Yeah, thankfully I've got other jobs.
Yeah, it was rough. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a husband. I didn't have anybody relying on me at that time. So I look back and I'm really thankful for those years and that was right around 2009, you know, after the market crash and everybody thought I was crazy getting into real estate. I was like, well, this is teaching me something. It's teaching me how to work hard. And I feel like, looking back, I feel like I learned a lot. So.
And probably kind of going back where you're talking, like you didn't have kids at that time. You weren't married at the time, right?
Right.
I mean, you had nothing to lose and you could be a little reckless.
Right.
I felt the same way, like with my businesses that I started back then. I had nobody relying on me, no children, not really a steady girlfriend at the time. I mean, kind of on and off there with a couple of them. I mean, thankfully, I met my wife real shortly after I'd started a couple of them, and she wasn't real high maintenance. So it was, yeah, looking back, there's certain things I'd done then. I'm like, that was crazy reckless. Like I remember one day I left the house at 3 a.m. I drove all the way to Kentucky in my pickup truck with a gooseneck trailer and a tractor hooked to it. We planted food plots for a guy in Kentucky all day. Got back in the truck at 6 o'clock at night down there and drove home. And I think I pulled in the driveway. It was like 2:30 a.m. We had been gone 23 and a half hours just to try and build that business.
Right.
And that guy, actually, he was a guy that came and hunted with me. He loved our food plots. He goes, I can't do that. I'm not buying the equipment. He goes, I'll pay you triple your rate to come down here and do it for us. And we did it 3 different years in a row. No way I could do that now. Like, if I'm not home at like 6 o'clock, I'm like, my kids are like, where are you at, Dad?
Right.
You need to be home. We got dinner to eat. We got Bluey to watch. We got all sorts of stuff we've got to do. Oh, yeah. I took huge risks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that because I mean, one of the things I did while I was growing the land management side is about twice a year I would do direct mail to anybody that had 40 acres or more within a couple county radius. And one of the big things that I was taught, not only a little bit in college, then also with that other marketing company I was with, but then the people that were helping me design it, get like pretty picture on there, pretty photography.
Right.
So we did that. Always the very front of the postcard, or I usually did like a pamphlet type of thing where they could flip it open and have a lot of information. We had a really pretty scenic, or maybe there was a big deer, or a really cool cornfield with a moon set in the back, something like that.
Right.
And even to this day, and I haven't sent one out in probably 6 or 7 years, there's some old timers that still have that on their refrigerator because they like that picture, and they're like, hey, can you come build a road for us over here? We can't really figure this out. Maybe you can figure it out for us. Or can you help us do this? So I've carried that through to some of my real estate stuff too, which I think I've showed you all my different postcards.
Right.
We did some billboards too, right about the time my kids were born and I was getting into real estate. I can't say that I ever got any true leads off of them, but I know people saw them.
It made them aware.
It made them aware. I used to coach trap, skeet, and sporting down here in Calhoun, and we had one on the way to Bunker Hill to Brittany Shooting Park. And every Tuesday night, I would get no less than 6 or 7 Snapchats from my trap shooters. Hey, there you are again.
Yep.
There you are watching us. We can't go anywhere without you seeing us.
And now, how old are these boys now?
Oh, they're 20, 25 years old. I sold one a farm this year.
Yep, that's right.
It was the coolest thing ever, selling him a farm after, watching him go from a youngster to high school to college and watching him progress in his shooting career. And now he's got a heck of a career and was able to buy a $200-something-thousand farm.
That's so cool.
It is. It's a really, really cool story. And I'm kind of anxious to see, because there's still a lot of those kids that I coach that are in college. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of anxious to see how they progress, and then if that will translate into more sales too down the road. Not that they have to use me, but it's just kind of a cool story, really, when it all boils right down to it.
Yeah.
How that all plays together, and the community involvement, because I've done a lot of community involvement, Calhoun really particularly.
You went to high school in Carrollton?
Bethalto.
Bethalto.
Yep. I'm a CM graduate.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a transplant up here.
How did you get into Carrollton and Calhoun and these areas?
So my dad's side is all originally from Campsville.
Okay.
And as I was growing up, I was up here every summer, every weekend, hunting, fishing, running four-wheelers, just tearing stuff up here. And I got into the filming side of things, filming deer hunts actually, through some family members. Well, then that turned into, well, I was going to make that my job. I'm going to go travel the country. I'm going to travel the world filming stuff in Africa and animals.
You're Larry.
Yeah, I'm going to be Larry here. I'm going to film all this, not like we're filming now, but different hunts and whatnot. Well, then that turned into, I wasn't even going to college, to be honest with you. I was going to be a guide in Wyoming. I had a job lined up out there where we were going to guide elk and mule deer, whitetail, and I believe it was mountain lion hunts. And then in the summer, you built houses for the guy. That's what he did in the summertime. I had that all lined up, and I don't know, my mom and dad just sitting there and begged me to go to college. And I ended up getting a full ride to Lindenwood University for trap, skeet, and sporting. Nice. Started there, I should say, and left halfway through and went to SIUE and Lewis and Clark and finished some stuff up. Got several different degrees. But anyway, so I was heavily involved in the outdoor video world. And I was putting some different applications in different places, and that's how I got tied in with that real estate company. Moved up there for a job and just stayed. Met my wife up there, and we've slowly progressed south because my parents live about 45 minutes south of us where we're at now. Her parents live about 45 minutes north, so it's kind of a happy medium.
Oh, yeah.
We really were wanting to build on the front of my 280-acre farm in Campsville. We were going to build a house. I had a really nice one drawn up, and when we started talking about it, when we were going to move from the last house, it was like $700,000 to build. Mm-hmm. I was going to justify it because I had a heated shop attached to it for the farm. I'm like, okay, $350s for the farm, $350s for the house. I'll make this work. When we really started getting down to brass tacks, it was like $1.4 million. I'm like, yeah, I can't justify that.
Right.
So we started kind of broadening that search, because I wanted my kids, when we went to school, I wanted them in either Calhoun or Carrollton School District. We did not want them going to Pikeland. I didn't really know much about it, but my wife was like, I really don't want them up there. We want them down this way. And I was fine with that. I like being down here more than I liked being up there. Probably shouldn't say that on video because it might hurt some of my clientele, but that was just personal preference. We wanted to be this way. This house had been on the market for 3 or 4 months. And they were marketing it wrong. They had marketed it as like a 2-bed, 1-bath house. And I kept just looking over it. This house on 40 acres we have here. And it had a really, really good price at the time. And one night I sent it to my wife, and she's like, there's no way we can live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And I'm like, just look at the pictures. Just look at them. And I'd been in the business for about 2 years, I think, when I bought this place.
Oh, so you sold yourself a house?
I sold myself a house. And I remember it clean as day. Like, we almost got into a fist fight laying in bed while we're looking at this thing on here. And she's like, I'm not wasting my time going through 70 pictures of this. There's only 1 bathroom. I'm like, look at the dang pictures. There's 4 distinct toilets in this house.
Oh, wow.
I go, they didn't take pictures of the same toilet 4 times. I go, there's different backgrounds in there. So then she got looking at it. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying now. Scheduled the showing. And like typical young buyers, mom and dad came with. And I think we spent 4 hours here. It was 3.5 to 4 hours during that first showing. And I never left the house. I never walked out there.
You were in here?
In the house the entire time.
Wow. What were you doing?
Looking at every little detail. And she was just like, well, there's more bedrooms than 2. I was like, I told you. There's more bathrooms than just 1. I'm like, I told you. She wasn't at first until we got here and looked at it. And then, of course, she wanted to pick apart what the people, how they designed this and designed that. She doesn't have as much like creativity behind like, well, we could take this and turn this into all this down here. So like this basement that we're in right now was unfinished. This stone fireplace was here, and the other guy had started some of this stuff, used a bunch of rusty metal on the ceilings. And in the bathroom, they had a tiny shower that he had started to tile, and I wanted a big shower. I had a really small shower at one of my hunting lodges, and I felt like you had to like walk out of the shower to change your mind. And I'm like, I can't do that as a big guy. It was like a 2x2 shower. It wasn't gonna work for me. We were gonna have to demolish it all. So we were putting a wall up on the other side to make one of the bedrooms, and you heard this crazy racket. All the tile fell off the wall because he kind of cut some corners on the grout. I was like, well, we just saved 3 hours worth of demo work. So it's, we were fortunate enough, we were able to finish everything in the basement, have cleaners come in, professionally clean everything, get all the dust out before we moved in. And then worked on selling the other house. The other businesses, they're obviously big and booming. Real estate was really starting to pick up. I mean, I think I was selling $5 million a year back then. I mean, that was only a couple of years ago. I mean, I just didn't have enough time to do everything. And I had talked to a handful of different agents or different brokerages, and I talked to some other brokers too, like, hey, you went from here to here, why did you make that switch? And you did this and you did that, and really picked a lot of people's brains before I really settled in on Tarrant and Harmon and Sports Afield. I ended up going this direction because I saw what Sports Afield had the potential to become.
Right.
And obviously with Tarrant and Harmon, they've been around, I believe it's 13, 14, 15 years now, and they're a major staple in the Riverbend area. And as we were moving south and getting closer to that Riverbend area, and then of course me graduating out of Bethalto and having a bunch of friends that I graduated with of age where they're becoming like, they're comfortable in their jobs, they're buying homes now, they're getting to that point where they're getting ready to, hey, we got our house paid off, but we really like to deer hunt. Find me 40 acres. And it was just this really, it kind of fit really natural.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You could bring the two together, where
Yep.
you were, where you had been.
Yeah. Now I'm back here more, and then mom and dad, they moved a little bit closer. They went from Bethalto to Godfrey, and they put a swim pool in to try and lure the grandchildren over.
I love it.
So I'm down there once or twice a week in the summertime, and I still run into those people. And now I'm doing more more business in Bethalto and Wood River, Alton, and I'm running into more and more of them. And now that I'm closer, like my college roommate, he's a chiropractor. I go see him all the time. And now when I go see him, I run into 4 or 5 other people we graduated with. So it's
the connections.
Your
database just gets larger.
It gets larger and larger every day. But
all the places that you've been.
So you were at Remax, correct?
I was at Remax.
And then you switched to Tarrant 6 years ago?
Yeah, you're right. 18.
I thought you had told me that the other day.
18.
Why did you make the switch?
I was actually talking to a coworker that I worked with yesterday on the phone, and we were kind of reminiscing about those days when we first started. Her and I started around the same time, so we were together 7 years-ish. At that particular Remax office. The Remax, there was sister companies. So I started at the Remax in Alton, and then when I went on my own, I was at the Remax in Godfrey.
Okay.
We had fun. I called the managing broker, Model Real Estate. She taught me what I knew.
Who was the managing broker?
Lisa Funk.
Okay.
And whenever I walked in, it was kind of one of those things like, well, you can make this as big as you want it. Like the sky's the limit, however much you want to make a year. And I think I was 25. I peaked that I was 25. Yeah. And here's the contract. You might want to go home and read it in your spare time. I mean, there was no training. It was kind of like, just come to me if you have questions.
Yeah.
It was great though. I mean, looking back on it, I'm like, things have evolved so much in the real estate world. I think I was one of the youngest agents at the time. The people, besides Travis and Allie, they were in it. Mark was in it. There were few young people. A lot of the real estate agents were much older.
They were.
And I feel like that was around the time, I mean, times started changing. And now you see so many good, young real estate agents in the business.
With all the technology now, you almost have to be, or you've got to really be on the cutting edge to embrace it all. I mean, I did a deal with one a year or two ago, and an older fella.
You're doing all the work for him.
I had to do everything for him.
I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I should or not, but it was like, it's just easier. Hey, you send me your emails. I will punch them into our dot loop, and I'll get the electronic signatures for you. And
yeah, it's evolved so much. We were laughing because back then there was no showing time. You faxed. So to get feedback on your listing, you had to fax over a sheet that they had to fill out to their office.
Fax.
They had to fill it out, and then hopefully you got it back, you know? So I just remember when the dot loop came out, that was around the time that the MLS started changing. I'm like, what are all these changes? You know, and I'm still young. And it's just funny the way things evolve. And so back to why I left. Lisa had decided in 2018 that it was time. Her corporate dues were coming due, and I think you have to pay those 5 years at a time. She was getting grandbabies, and it was just time. She did not want to manage anymore. She just wanted to sell real estate.
That's fair.
She didn't want to have an office. She didn't want to deal with all that anymore. So she had approached us and told us, you know, that a lot of them were moving over to Remax Alliance. I had always, when I first started, I met Allie out somewhere for the first time, and she's like, "Hey, my husband and his friend are going to be starting a real estate company." This is back whenever I'm in property management in St. Charles, so I was new. And I'm like, "Oh, I want to come work for you guys." She's like, "Well, it'll be a little bit, you know, but here's my email." So, you know, a couple days later, I emailed her and said that I was really interested. Let me know. She's like, "Well, we're working in the basement. They're working in the basement right now, so it's going to be a bit." So that was always, you know, that was pre-Remax. I had met Allie and really liked her personality. Didn't know Travis at the time, but, you know, I thought it was cool that they were starting this real estate business. So I felt, you know, it had always kind of been in the back of my mind. I thought that they were doing some cool things. They were still new at the time, too. And when that happened, whenever Lisa said that they were combining offices, she would no longer be the managing broker. We were shutting down that Godfrey office. I knew right then, you know, that was my time to call Travis and get into Tarrant Harmon. So I called Travis and I said, "Hey, you know, this is going on." He goes, "What time can you meet?" So I went out to their house at 8 o'clock that night. After they were putting the kids to bed, and we sat down and had a conversation, and I was with Terrence Harmon the next day.
Well, there you go.
Yep.